I think that the fact that there's so much cancer awareness now is a good thing, because it means that people take it seriously and know that if they go get checked and they can get caught, God forbid, if they have cancer, that it's caught early and they're fine. And that, in general, contributes to it being less scary for people, and also to more women surviving, because cancer is caught earlier. And as it should be for most people, it's ended. So on one level, it's true that there's a lot of cancer awareness, and that makes it less scary or heavy. And something very good comes out about that, which is really more people are living, and living better quality lives. There's a flip side to that, which is that some people, even though people react very, very differently. I talked a little bit about how I reacted, but I spoke with a lot of people for whom that kind of cancer was extremely traumatic for them. I know women who are in therapy years later, they're fine physically. The cancer's gone, they're okay. The trauma of having cancer was tremendous for them. But because it's so open and it's nothing and you're fine and you look great, so they sort of have a hard time dealing with this inner turmoil and integrating it into their regular lives. And for them, that could really be an issue. Everyone thinks you're fine, you look fine, you're over it. You had cancer, 5 years ago? 7 years ago? 10 years ago? What's the big deal, And the thing is, like so many things, there isn't a right or wrong, right? I mean, if someone's stuck, if someone is clinically depressed and can't function, right? Then obviously that person has to go and get help so that they can function with it. But if somebody's bothered by it, that's how they feel. That's legitimate. That's how they're processing it. That's integrating it. You don't know what fears it triggers up for them, a parent, an aunt, a grandparent, that are very, very real. So there is an element of that. There's an added element, which I don't know if you meant to, which I feel, which I alluded to a little bit, which is that breast cancer is really not, it's something that everyone expects you to get over. So I'm constantly meeting people, so you're finished now, right? And do you want to say, no, I'm never going to be finished? Do you want to say, you know what I'm saying? How much do you want to do it? Do you want to get into the whole thing? Do you want to just ignore it? How do you answer? How are you doing? I'm fine, Baruch Hashem. What does that mean? Fine, Baruch Hashem. Are you finished? I'm stable. I'm stable. By the way, I'm stable. My cancer is held in check with the chemotherapy. That's actually the goal. Oh, I'll tell you even better. I told you in the beginning I had cancer diagnosed in my lungs, liver, and bones. The tumors in my lungs and my liver responded to the first treatment that I had, and they are now no longer visible to the eye. That's what the doctors say. So I said, what does that mean? Are they gone? He said, well, we can't see them. It's really as good as you're going to get. They're basically gone, although no one can say for sure. But that's really, really good. That doesn't happen in the bones. The bones stay, but it's stable. In other words, it's not spreading. And you can live with this for a very, very long time. But you do live with it, and so it fits into that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Could be anything. Go ahead.
You said that your mother and grandmother also had breast cancer. Do they have the BRCA gene? Did you get it from them?
Excellent question. So I hadn't gotten BRCA testing before I got cancer. And then when I got cancer, I wanted to get BRCA testing, and my mother was all nervous, and you have to find out how it is where you go about these things because of insurance, which in Israel was really not an issue, but it was an issue about insurance. If you're tested, will they cover you? Will they do this? Will they do that? Whatever. But here I was diagnosed, and whether or not I had the BRCA gene would affect my decision. It certainly would affect the decision, do I want to do a lumpectomy, which is just removing the tumor but keeping the whole breast, or do I want to do a mastectomy, which is taking off the whole breast, or do I want to do a double mastectomy, because with a family history of cancer, your chance for a second cancer, not a recurrence, not the same cancer coming back, but another cancer is still 40%, right? That would affect that. Moreover, if you're BRCA positive, does everyone know what BRCA is? I'm throwing it out. So this is actually really something that's important to know. just for your own health and medical awareness. First of all, breast cancer can hit anybody. Having a family history or not having a family history doesn't make you immune. It's just a matter of statistics. What's the statistical likelihood that you will get breast cancer? But there are people, even young women, who get breast cancer who don't have a family history. That said, most women who get breast cancer are older, certainly over 50, often over 60. Most women who get breast cancer who are young have some sort of family history. Most Jewish women have a mutation on the BRCA gene. There's two BRCA genes, BRCA1 and BRCA2, and there are 3 mutations which are most common amongst Jewish Ashkenazi women. So if you have a family history, you can get tested and find out if you have that mutation. If you have a family history and only you get tested, it doesn't really mean anything unless somebody else in your family who has had cancer is tested as well, because you could get cancer for another reason, you could have this or that. So the other thing about the BRCA gene is that it's linked both to breast cancer and ovarian cancer. And breast cancer, thank God, I talked a lot about early detection, and there's great equipment and great methods for early detection of breast cancer. Ovarian cancer is a little bit more difficult to diagnose. So one of the things that I knew, I had this whole big debate, if I'm BRCA positive, I wasn't sure what I was doing with my breasts, but I was going to have my ovaries out because I was near 40, and I was, at that point, the cancer thing basically pushed me over into the world of being finished with having children. I didn't want to risk to have ovarian cancer. Now the truth is, I'm negative. I'm not BRCA positive. My mother is not BRCA positive. I have a genetic history, and we are in, they know, I don't know how much interest is, but they know that there are 3 other genes that are linked to breast cancer. So I'm in a study that's looking for one of those other genes. But it didn't have, for example, effect on the ovary decision because there's not enough research. They haven't identified it yet. They haven't collected enough statistics. But I did go to get tested. My approach to getting tested, and I will say this because this has to do with, again, attitude, that carried me throughout everything, is that knowledge is a good thing. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is not something to be afraid of. I felt, and I told this to my mom, I felt that she was afraid of that knowledge, but that I needed that knowledge to be able to make an educated decision. Because it wouldn't change the facts. If I'm BRCA positive or BRCA negative, either way I have that gene, either way I'm going to be living the effects of that. The question is, am I going to make a decision based on knowledge that I have that gene or not? You'll read a lot now about people making all sorts of decisions about prophylactic stuff and things like that. Again, people have to do what feels good for them and what feels right for them. But I will emphasize this element of when about the genetic thing. So my mom wanted me to do a double mastectomy. You're done nursing your kids, do a double mastectomy. Your risk of cancer goes down to, again, like 0, the same way it was on the side that I did that. And we spoke about the doctor saying you have to figure out how important it is to you. I wasn't ready at that point to just do that, to do a double mastectomy, to say, I'm gone. That was where I was at. But I know people who have. I know somebody who did. Again, she was after childbearing, who did a prophylactic mastectomy and found a second cancer on the other side that the doctors hadn't found. I asked my surgeon about it because he knew the case. And he said, statistically, it doesn't mean anything. It's all numbers. But what I wanted to say was when I was having this debate with my mom, and we had it with the surgeon, and my mom was putting all this pressure on me. See, it doesn't end when you're 18, right? My mom was putting all this pressure on me to do a double mastectomy, and I really didn't want to. And my surgeon said, our detection for breast cancer is good. And that's something else. So that even if somebody in the room, if you're BRCA positive or if you know someone who's BRCA positive, it doesn't mean you have to freak out and go and start chopping away, at your body. There's early detection. You go every year for a mammogram. You go twice a year for a manual. And this should go without saying, but I will say it since we're on the topic. All of you, even now, should be checking yourself every month. The new advice that women get, that girls get, is when you're looking for breast cancer, you're not looking for a lump. You are looking for a change in your breast. There are all kinds of breast cancers. Not all of them present as lumps. Some of them are very subtle changes. If you know the way your breast feels, if you, on a monthly exam, feel a change, and you've been doing it now for 2 years, for 4 years, for 10 years, and you go to a change, and your doctor says, I don't feel anything, and you say, I've been doing breast exams for 10 years, something is different, that could save your life. That could mean the difference between discovering it early, when it really will be, like we said, something that just is a minor inconvenience in your life, or having, God forbid, something that you might end up having to live with. Or worse, but we don't go there. We have other questions? Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. You can visit me on my blog. You can email me. And